Rated M for mature.
Don't let your kids watch it!
So how much of Chapter 2 are we going to see? Presumably we're going to see her thought process that leads to her taking out the mayor and Rika and Satoko. But are we going to get like the things like her shaking the ladder that Keiichi climbed up? Are we going to be seeing her interact with Keiichi and like... That's the thing though. Because... she doesn't like Keiichi really. She likes Satoshi. And yet she's like, I'm gonna go... But she still like tortures Keiichi, but also like... It's very strange. I was having such a happy dream. Satoshi-kun was in the dream. He was leading his normal everyday life. Hey, I'm not real! He was back on the baseball team. Eri and I acted normally around him because that's how mature people should act. We welcomed him back, as if he had been here with us the whole time. Although he hits well in practice sessions, he still doesn't do well in a real game. Come on, Satoshi-kun! 3 strikes already? I'm cheering for you. Then Satoshi-kun pouted as he mumbled. I felt tears pouring down my face. Oh... I'm miss him even though I only knew him for 2 weeks.
Satoshi-kun. Satoshi-kun.
Oh. The happy dream faded out with my sobs. The harder I tried to focus on it, the faster it faded. Soon it was all gone. I could see the bright morning sun through a crack in the curtains. I was in Mion's room at the Sonozaki house. When did I come back? I was crouching in the corner of the room and crying. A dream is a dream. I wished I hadn't woken up. But one must wake up from a dream. We live in a world where there are no dreams, and that's why we always wake up. But I wasn't sure if I was the only one dreaming that dream. Because I felt like Satoshi-kun was right beside me.
Satoshi-kun? 帰ってきてくれたんだ.
There was no reply. That was the rule. If it was Satoshi-kun, I wish I'd smile at me just once. But Satoshi-kun's presence faded away, as if he were never there to begin with. Because he wasn't! I heard the phone ring by the front door. Ah, that's right. I was the only one in the house now. I had to answer it. I got up to walk to the front door. I felt unsteady, so I put my hand on the wall to support myself. You just realized that Shion has to do something to hide the fact that Oreo is dead. That's true. I hardly got any sleep. It was like I had a bad cold. The phone continued to ring. I probably didn't have to answer it, actually. But I was still half asleep, and all I could think of was answering the phone.
はい、園崎です。
朝早くにすみませんな。君吉でございます。おばあちゃんまだお休みですかな?
It was Uncle Kimiyoshi.
はい。
Yeah, she is. I don't think she's gonna wake up soon.
昨日のが答えたみたいです。しばらく寝かせておこうと思います。
そうだね。無理に起こしちゃ悪いな。ミオンちゃんもこれから学校だよね。じゃあ枕元に伝言を置いといてもらってもいいかな?
Absolutely.
わかりました。何と伝言しましょう。
昨日の件で緊急に役員会を開くことになったんだけど、それをね、今日の夕方の5時から神社の集会所でって伝えてもらえる?
Oreo doesn't move around anymore, so yeah.
わかりました。伝えておきます。
Not again! As soon as I put the phone down, it rang again.
はい、園崎です。
早朝から申し訳ありません。葛西と申しますが、ミオンさんですか?
Are we going to say Mion or Shion?
おはようございます。
葛西さんですか? おはようございます。
シオンさんはまだそちらにいらっしゃいますか?
I wasn't panicked, but I hesitated. I could tell him no. Or I could play both Mion and Shion.
シオンはさっき顔を洗ってました。呼んできますね。
Oh, that's how you're gonna do it. I decided to play 2 parts. I went back and forth down the hallway and picked up the phone again.
葛西? おはようです。
Yeah, they do sound a little bit different.
おはようございます、シオンさん。 今日は登校されますか？
Kasai, man, I miss Shion. I hope she's doing okay. Maybe not.
するわけないです。たるいし。
まあそんなとこだとは。それでシオンさん、沖宮へ帰る足はありますか？
I travel by map.
若いのに迎えに行かせますが。
君吉のおじいちゃんとかそのあたりに送ってもらおうかなと思ってます。私のことは放っておいてくれて OK です。
親父さんから出席日数だけは守らせるように厳命を受けていますの
That's
で。
good, Dad. Well, in this particular regard.
私の小指のためにもご協力をいただきたいもんです。
まあ気が向いたら努力します。それより葛西、聞いてる？
聞いてるとは？
昨日のあ
一応は恐ろしい話です。
れ。これまでのたたりの犠牲者はさ、みんなダム
I
戦争
no,
の時
not
の
war
戦犯だったわけ
criminals,
じゃない。
no.
それが今年はちょいと路線が違う感じですよね。どう思う？
さあ、私の預かり知るところの話ではありません。
Kasai wasn't the type to talk too much. If it was about something complicated, he usually responded like that.
夕べの犠牲者の2人がどうしてお社様のたたりを受けたか知ってる？
いいえ、
実は夕べちょっとなんか綿流しの最中に西宮殿にこっそり忍び込んだらしいよ。鍵を針金か何かで開けて。
Kasai went silent for a while. I held my breath while waiting to see how he responded. I expected him to say that he couldn't believe those people were chosen as the victims for just sneaking into a storehouse. I expected him to say that it was just too unrealistic.
そうですか。バカなことを。
あまあ富武さんもそのあたりには疎いよそ者だったってことだね。
I went along with Kasai, but I felt disturbed on the inside. Kasai didn't wonder why breaking into the ritual storehouse would justify their deaths. I'd known Kasai for a long time, which is why I knew there was a heavy meaning to what he said.
でさ、葛西、実はさ私もなんだけど。
Uh-oh.
入ったんですか？
She actually trusts him enough to admit it. Wow.
西宮殿に？シオンさんが？
その高野さんに一緒にどうって誘われてさ、高野さんと富武さん、そして私とほら前原屋敷に引っ越してきた圭一って男の子と一緒に。
I know Kasai's pretty trustworthy, but oof, this could be bad. I heard Kasai sighing heavily. Even though he didn't say a word, I could tell he was shocked. I'd never known him to act this way before.
シオンさん、去年ああいう一件があったばっかりなんですよ。今度はどうけじめをつけられるおつもりですか？
去年が爪3枚だったから奮発して5枚くらい言っとく？
You're treating that way too casually.
あ、ごめん。でもふざけてるわけじゃないんだよ。そりゃ私だってやばいとこだって認識はあったよ。少しは。でもさ、そこまでやばいことなわけ？
シオンさんは仮にも園崎本家に縁ある方です。今さらそんなこと言ってまかり通ると思いますか？
No one has to know.
っていうか、だって私ずっと沖宮。ばあさんに嫌われて以降、ひなみ沢にはほとんど近づいてもいない。その上、学園に閉じ込められて過ごしてたんですよ。そんなの私が知るはずないじゃない。
I heard another sigh from Kasai. That sigh told me my excuses would be useless.
シオンさん、私はあなたの味方のつもりです。極力シオンさんを信じてあげたいと思っています。ですが、いくら私でもかばいきれないことがあ
What
りま
is
す。
such a big deal about the ritual storehouse?
第一、
ごめん。お姉が来たから切ります。じゃあね。
Uh-oh. Click! I interrupted Kasai and hung up. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear Kasai reject me. He who had been my ally all my life.
チェ参ったな。
I could hear the sound of the cicadas. The sound made it feel like I was being cooked on a huge frying pan, making a sizzling noise. I couldn't help feeling remorseful. Now I knew that sneaking into the ritual storehouse wasn't a laughing matter. but I really didn't know it at the time. Sure, the door was locked, so they didn't want anyone to go in. Then why did they change the lock? What did they say? I think it was that Rika-chama said that the previous lock was too heavy for her, so she had it changed to that cheap one. That was how Takano-san broke in. If the heavy lock was still there, this wouldn't have happened. You're not going to use that to justify killing Rika, right? I slapped my own forehead. Then I took a deep breath. I had to calm down. What was the point of fussing now? I'd already passed the point of no return. There was no use thinking otherwise. The hag was already dead. Even if she wasn't, she was now at the bottom of the well. Therefore, it was already past the point where I could just cut my fingers off in apology. I felt so unstable. That's 'cause you are. I'd walked on the fence around the swings at the park before as if I was walking on a tightrope. It was fun because even if I fell, it was only a very short distance. But it wouldn't have been fun if I were up really high. At that very moment, I was already, in fact, on a tightrope that was a lot higher than the fence at the park. As soon as I took a step, the rope behind me would vanish. I couldn't step back because there was nothing behind me. That was, in short, the current situation I found myself in. Just standing in one spot was all I could do. Even if I never took another step, I'd fall if I wasn't careful. If I forced myself to walk, the danger would only increase. But if I didn't move, I would fall eventually. I couldn't see what was ahead of me. There was no guarantee that I'd ever find firm ground. But if I stopped, there was only one fate waiting for me. I have to move onward. If staying here guaranteed death, then I'd rather try to walk, even if I die as a result. Even if there was a dead end ahead of me, at least I tried my hardest. In general, I try to be optimistic. I could accept my life not lasting particularly long, but I wouldn't go easily. I'd struggle as much as possible. I'd already killed the hag. For that, there could be no other punishment than death. I knew my life would end soon. In other words, I was actually already dead.
死人がなおもあがこうとしたら、そりゃ特攻あるのみでしょ。
I clenched my fists as tightly as I muttered. Even if I had to die, I couldn't die easily. This was my chance to avenge Satoshi-kun. Who did it? For what purpose? And why? I was going to investigate. I was going to question. I was going to expose. Yes, I was going to settle the score. I'd carry out the plan I came up with yesterday. I could hide the hag's death somehow. All I'd have to do is say that she hasn't been feeling well since Watanagashi. I could do it all while pretending to be Mion. Just in case her friends at school became suspicious, maybe I'd start telling them that I hadn't been feeling well either. In fact, I did feel groggy from my lack of sleep. When I became Mion, Shion would automatically disappear. I'd already told Kasai that I snuck into the shrine storage, so he'd probably end up telling people that I was demoned away due to the curse of Oyashiro-sama. The last person I'd have to think about was the fourth one who snuck into the ritual storehouse, Keiichi Maibara. Maybe I can use him as bait to lure out the enemy. Sorry, Kei-chan, you're going to be my bait. I felt a little bad since I was starting to like him. With all that figured out, let's go to school. You are the worst. I'd gone to school as Mion before, so I knew how things worked. It was almost time to leave the house. You know, Shion, none of this would have happened if you had just stayed at Catholic school. All right? Hi, Rena.
待っててくれたわけ？先に行っちゃってもよかったのに。
Yeah, poor Keiichi. I mean, he has his issues, but he doesn't deserve this.
あれ、ミオ
Hey, bro.
お前、顔が赤くないか？
You know what? Let's go with the OG art style for a little bit.
息も妙に
I
荒い
actually
し。
really like these two in there. Look how adorable Rena is in this art style right here. This is so freaking cute. Okay, she looks kind of derpy, but I like it.
みーちゃん、ひょっとして具合悪くない？
Not really, actually. Rena put her hand on my forehead.
レナの手、冷たいな。
みーちゃん、ちょっとだけど熱あるよ。
そんな大したことないよ。半日もすればケロッと治っちゃうって。
本当に大丈夫かよ。あんまり無理するなよ。
あれ、ケイちゃん、気遣ってくれるの？嬉しいな。
I'd always thought that he was a goofball, so I was a little surprised. I thought that they would tease me, but they didn't.
無理しない方がいいと思うな。 先生にはお休みだって伝えて
Oh
くよ。
yeah, is teacher gonna be here? Teacher has been a very minor character. I wish she was in it more.
大丈夫大丈夫。風邪薬も飲んだし、すぐに効いてくると思うから。
じゃあ行こうか。くれぐれも無理するなよって言いながら時間。
走らないと、間に合わない。
Wait, why is Rena so cute in this art style?
スリリングな朝になっちゃったね。鈍った体にはちょうどいいカツかもね。走ろ。
Let's run. Boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, boop, boop. Oh no! Oh no! Nuh-uh. Teacher. Ah, there we go. Remake teacher is the only teacher for me.
起立。気をつけ。
I'd made the same mistake before. I never learn, do I?
みーちゃん、本当に大丈夫かな。今日は具合悪そう。
You like Rena with the thick eyebrows? It's unique. I guess she does have slightly thicker eyebrows there. Oh yeah, especially compared to the... Thin eyebrows? Normal eyebrows? Slightly thicker eyebrows.
あら、そうなんです
Okay,
の。
no, if Satoko... I can't take her OG sprite seriously. Okay, let's go console for a little bit. Actually, wait, no, Rika's probably here. I don't... Console Rika in the school outfit doesn't really work, I'd say.
それはよくあり
She
ま
looks
せんわ
so
ね。
different from the other art styles. It was a good idea to make them believe I was sick. Even if I did things differently from Mion, I had an excuse.
まあ女の子には体調が悪くなる日もあるってことだ
I
な。
don't think that's what they're talking about, Keiichi, but...
僕にはそんな日はないのですよ。
You will one day, Rika.
みぱ
Mion's friends kept each other occupied and left me alone. Satoko OG has boxing gloves on. I mean, the OG art style, their fists tend to just basically be little balls. So, yeah, that does work. Ah, hello, Phil Mouse. Welcome. That's not the word. Philimua. Or however you pronounce it. Welcome to the stream. Great to see you. Keiichi Maibara. He might suddenly disappear one day. I couldn't let that happen. That would be like letting a fish take the bait and swim away while I was fast asleep with a fishing pole in my hands. I couldn't miss the moment the enemy took a bite out of Keiichi. I had to be very careful. But it was impossible to keep my eyes on him 24 hours a day. Spying on him at school like this wasn't good enough. Should I have him meet with Shion and let her explain that he's in danger? Maybe we could set up a strategy together. Oh, it's Ruben. Welcome. I thought that the profile picture looked a little familiar. I didn't think Keiichi realized how serious a crime it was to step into the ritual storehouse. I hadn't, after all. Since last year, all the incidents that related to the curse had probably been investigated in secret. People involved with the three families would know about the incident from last night, but Keiichi shouldn't know anything. If he knew where he stood now, he'd be more cautious, too. That should make him aware of his surroundings, and maybe he would notice if anything odd took place. The teacher caught him sleeping, so she ordered him to go wash his face. He walked out into the hallway. How dare you fall asleep during my classes? Oh, I'm sorry, teacher. That was my bad. Don't make teacher angry. I was sleepy too. I had to be alert, but I couldn't clear my mind due to my lack of sleep. I decided to go home early. Since I'd been pretending to be sick since morning, my request was approved. As I exited the building, I saw Keiichi washing his face. Alright. Ugh, I hate having to wash my face. It's the worst.
やっぱケイちゃんはこっちの流しを選んだか。
What's funny is that Keiichi is hard to kill because he doesn't do it himself. Or if he doesn't do it himself. That is definitely true. Where are we at right now? Yeah, Mion is in jail. The hag is dead. And Shion is totally nuts. And she's like, alright. Like, Shion's gotta disappear, so she's pretending to be Mion, and she's like, Keiichi's going to disappear too, so she's basically hardcore stalking him to try and get any leads on who's the one actually behind it. OG Keiichi looks a bit derpy, yeah.
表の方が気分いいもんね。
あ、ミオンか。
Didn't get much sleep last night, too busy burying the body. Oh wait, wrong chapter.
授業サボるなよな。
It looked like it was It looked like it felt refreshing to him to wash his face with cold water. I washed my face too. Keiichi's left hand is basically just a diamond. His fingers are all crushed together. I understand hands are really hard to draw. But like, wow. I didn't feel as good as I looked. Or it didn't feel as good as it looked.
ミオン、風邪の方はいいのかよ。眠いのは寝不足じゃなくて、風邪薬の副作用なんだろ？
実は内緒なんだけど、昨日はお祭りの後で親族の宴会に巻き込まれちゃってさ。
Weird seeing a different sprite. Or Keiichi sprite.
エンドレスに。
I pretended to drink with an invisible glass.
徹夜明けかよ。心配して損した。
Keiichi exaggerated his reaction, but he still seemed worried. It's not that big a deal to drink this much. Shion's finally got off the deep end. I would argue she went off the deep end quite a while ago with her victim blaming, or at the very least when she started having an imaginary boyfriend. But now she has crossed the point of no return. She's going full torture.
帰りは気をつけろよ。ふらふらして側溝や用水路に落ちるなよ。
It was Keiichi, not Rena, that reacted to her having a hangover. I don't even remember if this is the word-for-word exact dialogue we got in Chapter 2 or not. Keiichi turned around to go back to the classroom.
あ、そうそう、ケイちゃん。
I stopped Keiichi. He, in response, turned around.
なんだ？
変なことを聞くけど、深く考えないで答えてね。
そりゃ内容によりけりだな。
昨日の綿流しの晩さ、富武さんと高野さんに会わなかった？
Oh, I do remember Mion asking this. I noticed Keiichi's body tense up. His reaction proved that he felt guilty about sneaking into the ritual storehouse. Yeah, this is definitely in Chapter 2. Yeah, I'm remembering now. He was frightened that Mion Sonozaki might know about it. I guess this was enough to give him a certain impression of Mion Sonozaki.
富武さんと高野さんはわかるよね。ほら、ケイちゃん、お祭りの前日準備の時、シオンと一緒に4人でお話ししてたでしょ？
I could clearly see how dismayed Keiichi felt. He was trying to come up with an excuse.
さあ、どうかな。あったような、合わなかったような。
He was both a bad liar and a bad actor. He wasn't really that intelligent at all. Well, that would make him a suitable friend for Mion. Rude. He was just a brat, unlike Satoshi-kun. Although, when it came to lying and acting, Satoshi-kun was at about the same level. Maybe Keiichi should be credited for at least trying to tell a lie. Satoshi-kun wouldn't have even said a thing. I didn't need to be thinking about him right now.
そう。じゃあもう一つ質問ね。
Yeah, Keiichi was talking to Shion. So I always knew, or really strongly believed that Shion was the one who went crazy in Chapter 2, not Mion. This definitely confirms that. However, I did think that he was interacting with Mion at least a little bit after with Tanagashi. But now I realize, oh no, it was Shion the entire time.
同じく昨べ、シオンに会わなかった？
This was a very mean question. Keiichi was perplexed as I'd expected.
それ、昨日も聞いたよな。俺、あったかどうかわからないって答えたと思ったぜ。
Eh? I'd asked him that yesterday? He must have meant that Mion Sonozaki asked him that question. In other words, she asked him that after he left the storehouse and got back together with his friends. Damn you, Mion. When I asked her, she said she had no idea we went into the ritual storehouse. Shit.
そうだっけ？また改めて聞いたら違う答えが返ってくるかなって思ってさ。
どうしてあったかどうかをそんなに気にするんだよ。
He was getting defensive. Keiichi couldn't hide his panic as he flared up at me.
大したことじゃないの。富武さんと高野さんとシオンとケイちゃんをね、悪く言ってる人たちがいるの。何が悪いんだかはよく聞いてないんだけどね。
Keiichi was really perplexed now. This wasn't fun at all, but it could still be an interesting game.
私、ケイちゃんが悪いことをするなんて信じてないから。でも、ちょっとだけ聞いてみたかったから聞いてみたの。不愉快な思いをさせてごめんね。
I made sure Keiichi felt a sense of crisis, then left. Rude! Actually, more than rude. Nobody can tell us apart. We're Mion and Shion. Perfect twins. Even though your sprites actually give you different eyes, but then they change eye color depending on which person you're impersonating. Mion's going beyond of rude. She's exceedingly manipulative and evil right now. When I returned to the Sonozaki house, I saw a woman with an apron on. It was a housekeeper. Her name was Shimiko-san. The hag had a few housekeepers who took care of the chores around the house. They're gonna be like, I can't find Oreo anywhere. Well, have you tried the supermarket?
ありゃ、シミコさん。何かご用で？
Today was her turn to help at the house. She'd arrived, but the gate was locked and she couldn't get in. She'd called, but there was no answer, so she had just been standing there, not knowing what to do.
バッチャですね。綿流しの祭りで面白くないことがあったみたいで、昨夜からすごく機嫌が悪いんです。
そうですか。
Shimiko-san tried to remember as if she had done something wrong.
別に無視してるんじゃなくて、寝込んでるだけなんです。昨夜だいぶ遅くまでカリカリしてたから、多分まだ起きられないんじゃないでしょうか。知ってるでしょ？一度機嫌を損ねたバッチャが、どれだけの期間機嫌が悪いかを。
She is playing this pretty interestingly, though.
そうですね。困りましたね。
しばらく顔を見せない方がいいと思います。シミコさんに悪気がなくても、バッチャは何かと咎めてくるに違いありませんから、こういう時は私に任せといてください。
そうですか。それは助かりますけど。
シミコさん、申し訳ないんですけど、他のお手伝いさんにもしばらく来なくていいと伝えてもらっていいですか？
I don't have the phone numbers of the other housekeepers you employ.
バッチャの機嫌が治ったらこっそり電話しますから。しばらくそっとしてあげてください。
Shimiko-san bowed and then left on her bicycle. Anyone who had ever experienced Granny's wrath would understand. She sounds like a lovely person. I headed into Mion's room, set the alarm clock for 2 p.m., and crawled into her bed. I needed to recover quickly. I had to be sharp, calm, and cool-headed. School would be out by 2 p.m. Maybe I'd get in touch with Keiichi. I'd have to call him. There would also be a staff meeting at the Furide Shrine Assembly Hall in the evening. All of the leaders of the 3 families, their relatives, and the town council members would gather at this meeting. They were all authority figures in Hinamizawa. I'd be attending in place of the hag who was sick. I'd worry about the rest when I got there. People shouldn't notice that Mion and the hag were missing for a long time. I didn't need to worry, as I had plenty of time. I checked the alarm once more. Then fell asleep as if someone switched me off. Yeah, sleepiness will do that to you. Props to the VA, the old lady voice is believable. Yeah, I mean, the voice acting in this game is top-notch.
もしもし。
園崎の妹の方です。
Oh, she's gonna be Shion this time.
こんにちは。今はお時間大丈夫ですか？
シオンか。ミオンと同じで、今日は寝不足で寝込んでるんじゃないかと思ったぜ。
え？ひょっとしてお姉、早退ですか？お姉らしい。
Keiichi had no idea that the Mion he saw earlier was actually me. He didn't notice when we talked in person, so there's no way he would notice on the phone. I never knew that playing 2 roles would be so much fun. To feel such enjoyment in this game of life or death, maybe I was getting used to the situation. Or maybe my senses had gone numb. You might just be sociopathic at this point.
ちょっと親が電話待ちをしてるんで、そんなに長話はできないんだ。
This is when Keiichi yells at Shion. No, that's a later scene, isn't it? Actually, they had multiple phone conversations. The one where he yells at her, I'm remembering as the one where she, like, starts laughing evilly when we get the super close-up of her insane face.
何の用だ？
お話ししたいことがあったんですけど、長電話が無理じゃ仕方ないですね。
じゃあさ、会って話をしないか。ついでに図書館にも案内してもらえるとありがたい。
図書館って駅前の私立図書館ですか？別にいいですよ。バイトのついでってことで。
We decided to meet in Okinomiya. It wasn't easy to get there from Hinamizawa, but I had to hurry. I couldn't run into Keiichi as he was heading there himself. I recalled that the key to the hag's motorcycle was in her secret drawer. I'm sorry, Grandma Oreo has a motorcycle when she could barely walk on her own? Really? I guess maybe she's had it for a long time, but the hag usually got driven around for public events, but when she had her own errands, she rode her motorcycle. Keiichi, I assumed, was going to ride his bicycle. I tried to get to Okinomiya before he did. Keiichi arrived quite a bit later than me. Motorcycles are faster, after all. There were hardly any traffic lights to worry about on the way here either. Is this where Del Inquint and his gang are going to be like, oh, you have a motorbike this time. How do you like it? That would be kind of funny. But that didn't happen in Chapter 2.
ミオンと違ってシオンは待ち合わせ時間を守るな。しみじみ。
お姉を標準にされるといろいろと困ります。
ん？少しフラフラしてないか？お前も昨夜は寝不足だろ？隠しても無駄だぞ。で、学校を早退したに違いない。
残念でした。私はそもそも今日はずる休みしてますので。私、お姉より容量いいですから。
おいおい、学校をずる休みするのを容量いいとは言わないと思うぞ。
Yeah, true.
じゃあ先に用事を片付けます？時間もそんなにないですから。図書館へ行くんですよね。
ああ。
Now what I want to know is how she convinces Mion to answer to Shion. Because definitely at the end of Chapter 2, when we had the twin in the jail and the twin going crazy, the one going crazy acted like Mion, and the one in jail did, like, act like she was Shion and answer to Shion as well. So that's going to be interesting.
おふくろの借りてる本の返却期限が今日までらしいんで、図書館は遠いのか？
すぐ近くですよ。
I meant it when I said we didn't have much time. I had to hurry a little. I was just going to talk to him on the phone, but I ended up coming all the way to Okinomiya. After our talk, Keiichi would slowly head back to Hinamizawa on his bicycle. I'd have to rush back there while making sure I didn't run into him. Otherwise, I couldn't make it on time for the meeting. Maybe I could be a little late, but since I needed to hear everything they were going to discuss, I didn't want to be. This was the Shishibone Public Library. It was sizable, filled with a collection of moldy, smelly books. But they did have air conditioning, and it was quiet. It was the perfect place when you wanted to be alone. After Satoshi-kun disappeared last year, I came here a lot to think about the various things. This was where I first met Takano-san. I didn't want to run into her with Keiichi in tow. But then I remembered she was already dead. Imagine if we actually saw her in here. That would be hilarious. The first floor of the building was occupied by government offices. The library itself was on the second floor, so we had to walk up a huge staircase to get there. I tasted cool air on my skin as soon as I walked through the automated door. Unlike outside, it was very quiet in here. The room temperature was both comfortable and suitable for books. I could smell the scent of old pages.
どこの図書館も似たようなもんだな。
Keiichi walked up to the return table after he said so. Because it was a weekday, there was hardly anyone around. It really was very quiet. I was going to chat about some ordinary things, and then move on to the main subject. After Keiichi returned the books, I invited him to the inner section of the library. Keiichi knew Mion well, but he didn't know me at all. He showed an interest in our life story. This was exactly where Takano-san told me about the true history of Hinamizawa a year ago. I was about to tell Keiichi about the things that were very similar to that. Did God have a sense of irony?
言われてみれば、例のおもちゃ屋も親類の人が経営してるみたいだったな。そういえば、エンジェルモートも親
Yep,
類の人
they
が
own
経営してるん
Hooters
じゃ
as
ない
well.
か。
I told him the reason why the Sonozaki family was so powerful in this area. I assumed that since Keiichi came from the city, there was a good chance he couldn't even begin to understand how one old family could literally control an entire area. Unless I explained to him how powerful the Sonozaki family was, he wouldn't understand what kind of danger was barreling toward him.
特に金融、不動産関係は強いですね。あと、商工会議所の役員も何割かは、園崎姓かその親類がついてます。沖宮一帯を評伝に、市議会議員と県議会議員にも園崎がいますし。
ちょっと待て。なんだかすごい話になってきたぞ。沖宮の町中に親類が経営する店があって、特に金融、不動産に強い。しかもその上、商工会議所の役員の何割かが親類で、しかも地元選出の議員までいて。
Yep. Keiichi counted with his fingers. He was clearly surprised to hear all of that about that Sonozaki family. It seemed like he was flexible enough to accept even something that sounded outrageous to him. He was starting to understand things, although slowly. The way he viewed Shion Sonozaki was changing little by little, too. That should be enough background information. Now I could go on to explain about Mion Sonozaki, the successor. Then I'd change the subject like Takano-san did with me. I'd go on and talk about the curse of Oya Shirasawa, and then the series of mysterious deaths.
ひょっとして園崎家ってこの辺り一帯じゃすごいんじゃ。
Uh-oh. Hey, Suisi! Better go back to remake art style.
すごいんです。
Hi there. A fat man with a cigarette suddenly cut into our conversation. How did we not notice him here? Uisi? Why was he here?
どうも、こんにちは。今日はデートですかな？羨ましいですね。
そうだと思ったら邪魔しないでほしかったですね。おいさん。
What timing? It couldn't be coincidence. I knew this man too well. He was crafty, sly, and clever. His presence here just can't be a coincidence. Did he see us somewhere in town and follow us? But why? Did he need something from me, Keiichi, or perhaps the both of us? From what I could guess, I didn't think it was me that he wanted something from. It was almost like he was trying to keep Keiichi away from me. Uisi was aware I gave false testimony to protect Satoshi-kun last year. Maybe he didn't think he could talk to Keiichi if I was around. Why did Uisi need to talk to Keiichi? It must be about the incident from yesterday. I'm sure there were plenty of plainclothes officers at the festival, so they had to have seen who was last with the victims. In other words, Keiichi and me. But Uisi knew I was hard to deal with. That was why he was focusing on Keiichi at present. Why did he have to show up at a time like this?
前原さんでしたよね。あなたもタフな人ですね。園崎姉妹を二股かけるなんて。
Okay. Hey now.
いやそんな二股だなんて。
Actually, Shion's two-timing him. Keiichi looked at me, hoping for assistance. He blushed. The way he panicked reminded me of Satoshi-kun. That aside, this wasn't going well. Uisi might even start talking about my relationship with Satoshi-kun. I didn't want him to, nor did I want Keiichi to have any preconceptions. Uisi took a quick glance at me. His eyes told me something. He was purposefully talking about the things I'd rather not talk about. He was basically telling me to leave, or he'd continue on to something that was worse than what we were currently talking about. He didn't use words, but his eyes clearly communicated that anyways. Damn that big fat weasel!
あ、ごめんなさい、ケイちゃん。私もうバイトの時間なんです。
You're leaving me with the police?
あ、そうなのか？
I realized that I wouldn't achieve anything like this, even if I stayed longer, so I used my part-time job as an excuse to leave. Uisi looked at me and grinned. Damn it! He won today, but I'll win next time.
そういえば今日はシオン何か話があるんじゃなかったのか？
That's true.
なんなら。
また今度。あ、バイトが終わったら電話します。夜なら電話大丈夫ですよね。
ああ、大丈夫だと思う。
じゃあ今夜電話しますのでその時に。じゃあ。
Oh boy. And Uisi and Keiichi always have lively conversations around the dinner table. But lately they just sat around and chewed.